to show you where Jacinda Ardern is coming from when it comes to speech. One of the most astonishing things she said. Let's start with this clip. This is one I just thought I'd show. People said, "Oh, she was driven out of office by misogyny." No. She quit because she was atrociously unpopular because of how she abused New Zealanders. Take a listen to this.
I remain absolutely clear, and I really want to reinforce, I did not leave because I felt that I was being given too much of a hard time.
And yet the woman who did this in 2020, the only PM to win a majority government under MMP, could also read the room. And 2 years after this remarkable victory, the room was turning.
Sitting in the back of my mind was this question and belief that perhaps my departure might bring the tempo, the heat, the friction that had come into politics, that it might take it down a peg. And if it did, that would be good for New Zealand. I remain absolutely...
So I think nothing became her in office like the leaving of it. I think the two things she said there were actually laudatory. The first is she said, no, I wasn't hounded out of there. I didn't leave. The media said, oh, she was hounded out because of misogyny. She said no. And then the second thing she did say is, you know what? I was becoming a bit toxic. I was becoming a bit radioactive, and me leaving would probably be good for New Zealand. That's the most honest that woman's ever been in her life. Now, she got over that brief spate of humility, and now she's going to be the envoy to the world, bringing censorship around the globe. I want to show you a video of her early in the pandemic. And you might think this is fake. I assure you this is real. It was widely reported at the time. She said, listen to no one else, believe no one else except the government. We are your only source of truth. Who do you think you are? Are you Jesus? If Jesus Christ was standing in front of me and said, I am your only source of truth, I would say, yes. But there is no other person, place or thing, organization, government or authority who would say, we are your only source of truth. In fact, by saying that she and the New Zealand politicians were your only source of truth, she proves that's a lie in itself. The very statement that they are your only source of truth is a lie, and thus proves it false and proves that she's a deceiver. Take a listen to this, and this is the person in charge of global censorship rules. Take a look.
Daily. You can trust us as a source of that information. You can also trust the Director General of Health and the Ministry of Health. For that information, do feel free to visit at any time to clarify any rumour you may hear, covid19.govt.nz. Otherwise, dismiss anything else. We will continue to be your single source of truth. We will provide information frequently. We will share everything we can, everything else you see, a grain of salt. And so I really ask people to focus on that.
The most egregious example of that appears to be this text which originated in Malaysia and has become a viral hoax in Australia and in New Zealand. How irresponsible is it the people that are sharing that news of a lockdown imminent in New Zealand?
Yeah, and look, that's the kind of thing that adds to the anxiety that people feel. So I continue to share the message. New Zealanders must prepare, but do not panic. Prepare. And when you see those messages, remember that unless you hear it from us, it is not the truth. And I really ask people, just visit covid19.govt.nz. It has all of the up-to-date information, and we will continue to provide everything you need to know.
Oh my God. Dismiss anything else. Unless you hear it from us, it is not true. We are your single source. We will tell you everything you need to know. Lord thundering Jesus, Joseph, and Mary, she actually said those things. And even there, I think there was a question there about some foreign rumor about a lockdown in New Zealand. And she said, oh, no. If you don't hear it from us, it's not true. Well, actually, it became true, didn't it? They locked down extremely hard there. Imagine the arrogance, the hubris, the God complex of someone who says, if I don't say it, it is not true. I'm telling you in advance, whatever you hear from someone else is a lie. Whatever you hear from me is the truth, no matter what I say, no matter what someone else says. Imagine the audacity. I mean, there's a Yiddish word, chutzpah, and one of the funny fake definitions of it is a man who kills his parents and then says to the judge, "Judge, show mercy. I'm an orphan." That's an example of chutzpah. Outrageous audacity, gall, temerity. That's what chutzpah means. Imagine the outrageous audacity, the temerity, the chutzpah to say, in advance, whatever anyone else says is a lie. In advance, whatever I will say in the future is true. You should not listen to anyone else from me. It's all lies. Everything I say is true. Dismiss anything else. Unless you hear it from me, it's not true. I am your single source. Are you a cult leader? Because unless you are Jesus himself, and that woman was the Prime Minister of New Zealand, smaller than the city of Toronto, ran that place abusively. And the only thing about her tenure that was admirable was the way she left it. Just outrageous. What do you think of all that? Have you seen that clip before, Tamara?
I have, yeah. It was nice to have that reminder because I think that was sometime in 2020, maybe even the early months of 2021. But that's, COVID really paved the way for these governments to act this way and to be the purveyors of information, and anything else that you hear that counteracts any of that is just blatant mis or disinformation. And we should denounce those people. We should silence them. They need to be censored. And now we're seeing in Canada, our government, including, even as recently as parliamentarians being briefed on the Liberals' plans to create a digital safety commission. And this comes as the government is pushing through, as I mentioned, legislation like Bill C-18 and Bill C-11 that would see sweeping regulation of the internet, subject largely to the Canadian Radio Television Broadcasting Corporation. And it's so ambiguously worded that even they don't know how they're going to largely enforce or withstand this type of legislation. But this is an article that came out of Blacklock's, and they're committed to web censors. So Cabinet, in a letter to MPs, said it is committed to appointing an internet censor board called a Digital Safety Commission to police legal content, but set no deadline for the legislation. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau earlier described uncensored speech as destabilizing. Huh. And I guess he's referring to the destabilization of our democracy that we've seen under his government, who claims to be, transparent, open, and honest, and then hides behind all, blacked out freedom of information requests, appoints people that are politically aligned with him to investigate himself, and a government who has the most ethics breaches out of any other prime minister in Canada's history, and just says, sorry, maybe I'll take a slap on the wrist, and a couple of my MPs will resign, but I'll continue my reign of terror. Yeah. The article here goes on to say that the government of Canada is considering the creation of a new digital safety commission. The agency would monitor internet content deemed hurtful through legal. The government of Canada is committed to developing new rules for platforms that are backed by strong enforcement mechanisms. So in the sense of Bill C-11, which I imagine would probably be leaned on heavily if and when it passes, which is very close to, very broad, heavy fines for anyone who's found to be in non-compliance with whatever the government deems as mis or disinformation or content that is hurtful or hateful or harmful. And again, those definitions are largely ambiguously worded and open to the interpretation of the government itself. This isn't something that you see being upheld in a free and democratic nation where you have all the information presented and accessible to you, and the citizens are informed and intelligent enough to make their own informed choices and decisions and come to their own conclusions, and then robustly debate and discuss them. No, instead, we see that we need sweeping censorship and online content regulation, arguably, in order for a government like this to remain in power.
Yeah. You know, Justin Trudeau has 4 bills either in the House of Commons or the Senate or about to be introduced. 4 to censor the internet. He's obsessed with it. Like I say, he doesn't need any lessons from Jacinda Ardern. He's got Bill C-11, which regulates the internet, puts it under control of the CRTC. Bill C-18, called the Online, one's the Online Streaming Act, the other's the Online News Act. It will regulate Facebook, Google, YouTube. Bill C-36, which was introduced and died in the last parliament, which will be reintroduced, has fines of up to $70,000 for people who say hurty things online. And then the final one, called the Online Harms Act, which hasn't been introduced yet, but a backgrounder has been published, would, like you say, criminalize lawful but awful commentary.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.